Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to ask that if you gain any valuable insight from this episode, that you please share and leave a review. We truly appreciate all the support and would love your help to spread the word. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to another episode of Back to the Basics with Jeff Fenster. I'm so excited to have Brandon Fortino in studio. What's going on, Brandon?
Thanks for having me here, man. It's a great day out here in San Diego.
Thanks for coming. From graduate at San Diego State to running your own business, I'm really excited. Really proud of you and just honored that you made the time to come up and be on the show.
Well, I'm honored to be here. I'm excited to ask you some questions and get some golden nuggets out of it.
Let's hope I can deliver.
I'm pretty sure you will. First question that I have here is, how did you identify the opportunity to start Everbowl? Just curious.
So at that point in my life, I had already sold a few companies, so I kind of knew business. And I started to realize I wanted to just do what I was passionate about. Because if you add the passion and your own personal interest into your business, you're going to work those extra hours. And so I looked at health and wellness as kind of my extra passion outside of business and my family. And there was no acai bowl chains available. Like I had acai bowls a few times, but they weren't mainstream yet. And so I looked at the opportunity and said, well, you know what? If I like these bowls and everyone I know who's ever had one likes these bowls and they're not yet here, I kind of just saw a white space, an untapped market. And so I figured, worst case, I'll be a smoothie shop.
Smoothie shop.
But best case, I could be a craft superfood chain.
Wow. So coming in with the intention of you can make it something big.
I thought I could, right?
Okay.
I believed it. I mean, you don't always have to believe it can be huge, but I looked at Jamba Juice and Smoothie King and Tropical Smoothie Cafe and the big players in the smoothie juice sector, and they're big companies. I mean, some of them are over $1 billion value. So there's a lot of opportunity. And so I said, okay, well, they're selling smoothies. I'm going to sell acai bowls and superfood bowls, but I'm also going to sell smoothies, right? So I could always come back to that. I had a backup plan.
Interesting.
For the brand.
That's super cool. So how did you start from that first store that you opened to kind of rapidly scale? I think you guys are over 60 stores now.
Yeah,
60 franchises.
75. Well, 400 sold and 75 open. You got to think backwards. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't get started because they feel like they don't know what they're doing. And so the key is to just do something. But you have to have an idea of what you're trying to move towards. So I wanted to scale big and fast.
Okay.
And so because that was my North Star, that was my target, everything I was doing, I would say, okay, we're going to do this. Great. That seems like the right approach. But before I executed on that one thing, I would say, how does that apply or how does that help me move forward to mass scale?
Okay.
And so the example would be, I built the first one and it cost me a lot of money. So I was like, okay, maybe I start my construction company to bring my costs down, which I did. That helps me with scale and it helps me with my next store. So there was two wins. But if it didn't help me with scale, I probably wouldn't have done it, even though it helped me short term, because I had to think about long term, right? So think of it like eating healthy.
Right.
Could I eat a bag of M&Ms today? Sure. It's not going to help me with my long-term health. So if I'm going to do that today, okay, but I'm not going to do that every day. So what am I doing every day to make sure I'm focused on my long-term health? What am I doing every day to focus on the long-term scalability of my business? Wow. What are those steps, right? Am I cutting corners for immediate gratitude, like the immediacy of gaining something and immediate gratification? Or am I planting seeds for foundational growth? And I think for each business, it's different. You know, Everbowl's unique. Obviously, any company you look at, there's going to be these pieces. But it's about how do you write on a map and say, okay, what does scale look like? And for me, it was I wrote McDonald's down. I wrote Subway down. I wrote Domino's Pizza down. I said, what do they all do that makes them different from other burger joints, other sandwich joints, other pizza places, and why do they have scale? And I started to realize, they own more than just the food, right? McDonald's is real estate. Domino's is technology. Subway is real estate. And so I said, okay, well, what is my real estate? What is my real estate? Because I can't just go buy real estate. So what was it? And for me, it was vertical integration. It was bringing in my own supply chain, controlling those elements, building culture, and thinking big, even though I was small.
That's so interesting. So you have the goal in mind, kind of you started with the goal in mind of wanting to be like a McDonald's, like a Subway and all that stuff.
Yeah, and you work backwards.
Okay.
Right, and you have to think and be the person that you want. You have to live and act the way you want to become, right? So if I was thinking small today, because I am small, I'm never going to get big.
I see.
So you have to think big, even though you are small.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
It works.
Yeah, it does. So if you were to say, rewind back the time, say you were back in your early 20s shoes. Heard a little bit of your story on your speech the other day. What would you tell your younger 20-year-old self when it comes to starting a business or entrepreneurship in general?
Number one, lose the ego. I had a big ego in my early 20s.
What does that mean when somebody say ego? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's more like I had a lot of insecurities, and they manifested themselves with my behavior. So as the leader of my company, I felt like I had to get credit for everything. So if we had a good idea, if you were working for me and had a good idea, I would tweak it a little bit so it was my idea. And I'd be like, look what I did, guys. Hey, I'm Jeff. I'm the CEO and founder. Look at what I did. Look what I did. Look what I did. Because I was insecure, not realizing that that's not leadership. So if I had to go back and talk to my younger self and get it done faster, I would lose the ego and focus on becoming a better leader and empowering others. And number two, I would make sure I understood what is required. To be a successful entrepreneur, there's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of time commitment. There's a lot of rough days. There's a lot of rough moments. It's lonely. And so I would have had the self-talk, because I went through a period in my late 20s where I was very lonely. Even though I had a ton of friends and family, they don't understand what I'm going through every day because they're not running a company, right? And so it's a unique space. So who do you lean on? How do you find that camaraderie? How do you find that ear of someone who actually understands the trials and tribulations of an entrepreneur, right? It's not easy. It's the totality of issues you deal with in entrepreneurship is why it's so hard. It's not the business. It's not a restaurant or a content creation company or a construction company or a dental office. What you do every day, like, that's not the hard part. It's the fact that every single minute things are coming at you, and every decision you make has a cost, a ramification, good or bad, right? And you don't always get to see what's coming at you. No one could have predicted COVID.
Right.
No one could have predicted supply chain. No one could predicted 9%, 8% interest rates. Right. The macro environment of the world today, no one can predict. If the economy hits a recession, what happens to my business? If the banks won't loan me money, what happens to my business? If my number one vendor goes out of business, what happens to my business? Right? If my number one employee who's helping me leaves, what happens to my business? Like all these things that are out of your control. And so when you just deal with them again and again and again and again, there's just a lot. And it can wear a lot of people down. And it can mean a lot of sacrifice and sleepless nights and time away from your friends and family and your health. And so you have to figure out how, and I know I don't like the word balance because it's not the right word, but you got to figure out how to juggle all of these different areas so you can bring your best self every day with the same gumption and motivation and inspiration and drive that is required.
Right.
Because it's you versus a million people trying to beat you in your industry.
Right.
Every restaurant out there is competing for the same customer, whether it's another superfood chain or it's Domino's. If you're going for lunch today, you're not going to go to Domino's and Everbowl.
Right. You have to choose one or
I'm
the other.
competing with them all, right? I'm competing with the world. And I can't stop you from starting an acai bowl chain tomorrow out of your mom's kitchen, right? Anyone can compete. It's not like the NFL where you have to make it.
Yeah.
You just can start. Anyone can start. I can compete with you in your industry. You can compete with me. The biggest companies in the world, like McDonald's, could start a competitor.
That is true, yeah.
So I have to bring it, and I have to be mentally sharp while still juggling my family, my health, my relationships, my sleep, and all those other things. So I would just make sure in my 20s, I didn't understand that. And so there was definitely some tough times, especially because of the Great Recession, which is 2008 when I started. And so it was just, it was a lot of stress, a lot of sleepless nights, and some times that I almost quit.
Wow. And what do you say to yourself when you were in those moments? What is the Jeff's magic word, I guess? What fuels your heart on fire?
Well, now it's different, but back then I don't think I had any self-talk. For me, back then, it was more, as I said, I would lose the ego. I think my ego and pride kept me fighting. So there it was actually a good thing. I wasn't going to tell my parents who didn't think I should be doing this, or my friends who didn't think I should be doing this. Look, you were right. Like, that was my ego standing in the way. That kept me in the fight.
Right.
And, the rule number one of an entrepreneur is to stay in business today. Rule number 2 is stay in business tomorrow.
I love
Rule
that.
number 3 is stay in business the next day. If you keep doing that, you get to build a big business.
I love that.
So keep paddling, keep staying in the fight. And, I interviewed Damon West on my show, and he had this thing from prison, which is true in life. And it's like, you don't have to win every fight. You just have to fight every fight.
Wow.
So in business, I agree. I apply it to business, not his example in prison, but it's true in business, right? I don't have to win every time. I just have to get up and bring the best of our company. And we have to fight the fight, whether it's COVID, interest rates, supply chain, recessions, positive environment, bad environment, client leaving, customer leaving, real estate burning down, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to bring it and take the blows and keep going, because at the end of the day, that's how winning happens.
Love that, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I feel like there's so much to unpack there. I feel like that could be like a 2-hour podcast on its own.
Hey everyone, just wanted to take a second to say how incredibly grateful we are for all of our listeners, and I want to hear from you. Your feedback is greatly appreciated, and it will only help us make this show better for you. So any questions you have, click the link in the show notes below and let us know. Now, back to the episode.
You mentioned kind of having good leadership and empowering the people around you. So what are some of the ways that you're able to empower your team around you to support the vision?
Well, I changed how I hire. I used to hire people that would do what I said. Now I hire people who tell me what they're going to do, and they're the ones who are the thought leaders to get us where we're going.
Okay.
I hire experts, and I hire entrepreneurial minds and people who maybe don't have their own company but think like an entrepreneur, right? Because for me, it's about disruption, it's about innovation, it's about speed and agility. And so I don't know everything. So if I hire you, I'm hiring you because I want you to tell me how this department that you're running, this position that you're taking is going to take us where we need to go, and I want you to be the best at it. So I'm looking for more character than I am skills. I want people who bring their best, strive for remarkability, improve every day, have confidence, disruptive thinking, and aren't going to wait for me to tell them what to do next.
I see.
And so by doing that, you get great human beings who come and they feel good because they get to see their ideas. They get to live their ideas. They get to be an entrepreneur, which entrepreneur doesn't mean you start a company. I think that's the biggest mistake right now. People in their heads, they go, if I don't go create my own company, I'm not an entrepreneur. It's just not true.
What do you think it means?
Entrepreneur is a mindset. It's a problem solver. So if you can join a company, whether it's, Everbowl or WeBuild or McDonald's, and you come and get the opportunity to disrupt your space, bring new ideas, create opportunities for others, and move the company in a direction off of your own creative ideas, that's the same thing you would have done if you started your own company. The difference is you don't have to do all the other parts that come with being the starter or the founder of the company.
Okay.
And so I think that that's a specific role. Founders have a unique set of skills that operators don't. But operators have a unique set of skills that founders usually don't, right?
Okay.
And so a good founder will surround themselves with good entrepreneurial minds, and a good entrepreneurial mind will surround themselves or connect with a founder. And that's where magical things really take off and happen.
I see. That's so awesome, man. Like, just listening to that, I feel like as a younger entrepreneur, it's motivating. It's kind of like, okay, like it's such a perspective shift from what we see typically on social media.
Yes.
There's a lot of gurus out there telling you what to do. It's kind of hard to decipher out of the noise.
Well, I think social media has glorified this whole concept of entrepreneurship.
Okay, how so?
Well, you start to see like the Elon Musks, the Bezos, the Zuckerbergs, all of these influencers that have started companies and sold them, and they are showing off their wealth, and it's like, oh my gosh, I need to do these things. And yeah, listen, if that's who you are, you should. Like if you're built that way, you absolutely should. But like, I don't want my daughters to be founders and entrepreneurs. I don't want them to deal with the totality of sacrifice, and I don't think they're built for it. I'd rather them come work with me.
Yeah.
And I create an ecosystem that they get to thrive in, and if they have innovative ideas that they can put forward and we give them the landscape to build, go do that. But don't have to worry about raising capital, which is in dealing with investors and dealing with the street and dealing with the lawsuits and dealing with all the other stuff that come with it, which can knock you down unless that's, again, who you are. And so because we've glorified entrepreneurship, I think we're pushing the wrong objective. I think what we need to do in society is push more of an entrepreneurial mindset, regardless if you're a founder or you're a number 2 at a company or a number 943 at a company. You will always make a ton of money, have a very good quality of life, and be able to have a lot of fulfillment and enrichment in your profession if you get to creatively think, see your ideas take place and inject your DNA in the company you work with, and it's the same thing.
I love that. First of all, that was amazing. Thank you for that advice. And so I believe that as someone like you have these core values that you also run your companies with, right? Kind of one of them is being be change ready, and even Kaizen. I love that one the most. So how are you able to implement that or inject that into your team? Like, kind of like, what are some practical, I guess, things that you do to promote that core value of Kaizen, of be change ready?
Well, I think it's two things. Number one, you have to hire people who already believe it. I can't change your belief system. So if you're not about making friends and having fun, me telling you to do that is not going to change, right? So you got to hire right, which means during that interview process, I'm not asking about all your skills as much as I'm asking about you, because I can learn a lot about you. Like, tell me a situation where you were really bad at something. How did you become good at it and proficient? And you telling me through that example what you did, I learn about, are you a Kaizen-minded individual? Are you change-ready? Are you hardworking? Are you a victim? Do you quit? Like, what are those attributes? But number two, it's I have to live it. I have to be that example. If I'm not that exact thing, if I'm not making friends, having fun, taking immediate decisive action, Kaizening myself, trying to aim for remarkability and being change-ready, how can I ask you to do it? And it doesn't mean I'm perfect, because I'm not. I have my days when I screw up, but I'm about Kaizen. So if I'm not good today, I'll get better tomorrow, and I'll take accountability. I'm the first one to tell you I screwed up, if I screwed up. I'm the first one to ask you, hey, could I have done this better?
Right.
I want to do this better. I'm trying to improve. It's the way I bring myself. And I think as a leader of a company, as an entrepreneur, you are obligated to live your core values. So the rest of your team says, hey, that's how Brandon does it. I'm gonna do it the same way, right? If you show up late, leave early, don't work weekends and nights,
right?
Put in 3 hours a day, but they always see you on a golf course, you can't expect your team to be like, oh yeah, one of our core values is hard work. Is it? No.
That's a good point.
It's not, right? But if you're bringing your best every single day and you want hard work to be one of your core values, you better demonstrate hard work, right? So for me, it's making friends and having fun. I have to demonstrate that character trait, because that's who I want to be and that's who I want the company to be. And so I want my team to follow in step.
One of your other values, like making friends and having fun, and your new book, the relationship, basically like, capital that you can gain. I love like your example of having withdrawals and deposits. That really stick to me in my mind. I remember from your speech there. So as a young entrepreneur, early 20s, or even trying to figure it out in the world, what would you say is some of the best ways for us to, I guess, expand that relationship bank account?
First of all, you got to be everywhere. You got to go to like where we met at an event. You went to the event, you got to mingle and meet a bunch of people. We met there. Now you're here. It's about being present, right? Not staying at home and not putting in the effort. You may not have a ton of financial resources, but you have a resource that people who do have a lot of financial resources may not have, which is time. Because you don't have necessarily, I don't want to be assumptive. Most young entrepreneurs in their early 20s don't have a family yet. So they have the ability to learn instead of earn. They can go intern at companies. They can go volunteer their time and effort. They can reach out to people they look up to or want to learn from or meet and say, hey, I'm young. That's different. At 40, if I call somebody, I'd love to learn from you, they're not impressed. They don't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
But if I'm 22, 23, fresh out of college, and I say, listen, I just graduated college last year. I'm really trying to build my business. I look up to you, and I would love to come and meet you at your office or meet you for a cup of coffee and ask you 5 or 6 questions. Can I have 10 minutes? You're more likely to get a yes than me. So if you do that to 10, 15, 20 leaders or 20 department heads or 20 people in business that you want to learn from every single day, you reach out. A lot of them will say no, but some will say yes. And you're going to start to make those relationships. And then from there, show up at more events. Volunteer your time. If there's an event in your city, go to it. Be around as many humans as you can. Keep meeting them, because time's going to happen. 20 years is going to fly by. You're going to be my age. And you're going to go, who do I know? And who can help me? And I have a big Rolodex. I know a lot of people and a lot of people who can help me. So I get to build my companies faster and easier than if I didn't. So I have earned that relationship capital because I used to do exactly that. I would be at every event. I was everywhere. I met everybody. I'd fly, I'd go, I'd drive, I'd volunteer my time. It didn't matter. I was there.
As a founder and a CEO, with multiple companies, serial entrepreneur, you would say, how would you define happiness?
In business or life?
Both.
So happiness in business for me is seeing the business that we start or the venture fulfill its potential and be on that journey, that path. Happiness in life is the fact that every day I get to wake up and do the things I love. And so I love what I do. And so every day that I'm healthy, because being healthy is most important, but I get to spend time with my family, my friends, my businesses, and I don't really work. I work hard, but I don't work.
Okay.
It's not work. Like I put a lot of effort into everything I do. Hanging out with my kids, I work hard at that. Hanging out with my wife, I work hard at that. My show, I work hard at. My businesses, I work hard at. My health and wellness and working out, I work hard at. But it's not work because I love it. So I look at the clock. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 8:00 at night. I don't realize what day it is. I don't care what day. Like I get to do this every day. So to me, happiness is getting to fulfill and live my things I love. And if I had to do something I didn't love, I probably wouldn't be happy. So I think it's not a financial thing. It's about having the freedom to enjoy the things you enjoy and put your full self into them.
I love
That's
that.
how I define happy.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thanks for answering all my questions.
Well,
I
Brandon,
learned a lot.
thank you for coming on. I mean, this was great, and I'm glad we got to meet last week. And here you are in studio, and I'm excited to learn more about your business. And you know, for entrepreneurs out there looking for content, they should be reaching out to you because,
Thank you.
You know, what's the name of your business for everyone watching?
Short Form Pros.
Short Form Pros. So it's a great opportunity to work with Brandon. He's a rock star, fresh out of San Diego State.
San Diego State.
San Diego State. Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
And dude, thank you. Thank you for coming in. And if I can ever do anything to help you in your business and your journey or introduce you to anybody, don't hesitate.
Likewise.
I'm happy to help.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you so much for listening. If you're looking to level up your relationship capital game, then take a minute and text the word Jeff to 33777 for a free copy of my Network to Millions playbook. The link will also be provided in the show notes below. See you guys next time.